Skookdosh Kamdoon Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Community. Welcome back to the Altam Action News Podcast. I'm your host, Juan Isigiri, and I'm so excited to be here with you. Today, we have a wonderful conversation between news reporter Chris Picciuolo and Salt River School's Food Service Program Manager, Shannon Reina. These two sit down to discuss everyone's favorite topic, food. Let's get into it.
I'm Chris Picciuolo, news reporter with the Altam Action News. Today, we're here talking with Food Service Program Manager at Salt River Schools, Shannon Reina. Shannon, thank you very much for taking time out of your day to talk to us today.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
So I just have a few questions for you, so let's just get started. How did you become involved in the work that you do?
I started in school nutrition, I think it's 2008, and my children were all grown up. I needed a job, so I had been on the PTO board of my children's school, Salt River Elementary, the old school down there on Longmore. So because of that, I had done some classes or presentations with the school food director at the time. And so when I put in my application to work as a part-time cook aide, she recognized me from PTO. And so she gave me a job right away. And so I just started part-time, working like 4 hours a week, a couple of days a week. So as that started there, then I just fell in love with food service, school nutrition. So I just kept going from there. I became a cook aide. Then I moved on to a cook. I became the supervisor, and then eventually became the program manager.
And, could you maybe talk about the first time that you watched someone cook or helped prepare food? Take us back to that moment.
My earliest memory of, I would say, the comfort and power of food or cooking food came when my family would have gatherings. I think every Sunday, anytime there was a birthday or any kind of occasion, we got together. I lived less than a quarter mile from my grandma's house. So we would all walk over there, and my aunties would be all out there making chumat, or my grandma would be in the kitchen with my aunties, and my grandma would be making usually beans, and you can smell the beans cooking, or she'd be peeling carrots, shredding carrots, and she'd make carrot salad a lot. But just that, I think I just realized how special or how important food is to just family, just people. Yeah.
How long before you got your hands dirty, working with those foods and cooking with family?
Not too long. I remember because I grew up with mostly boy cousins. I think I was one of two girls in my family. And so they told me, you need to get over here and help us make chuma. So they basically forced me to make a chuma. So I did. And I remember cooking it over the fire. And it was just, I don't know, it wasn't round, that's for sure. And it was kind of thick in some spots. And I finished it. And then they told me, your first bread should go to your grandpa. So I remember taking my bread, my first tortilla, and I was kind of embarrassed, but he was really happy with it. He was really proud of it. So
that's great. So you talk about, you mentioned beans being one of those food staples.
mm-hmm.
Recently in your role for Salt River Schools, you made a tepary bean hummus for some kids who were out at the Cottonwood Wetlands for a field trip. Could you talk about that experience and making that for them and kind of what it means to you to be able to provide that staple food for the kids at an event like that?
Yeah, that was really special for me to do. Of course, tepary beans take a long time to cook, so we cooked them the day before and then blended the hummus the day before. And it's actually a really simple recipe, but just the fact that we were able to provide a meal using a traditional ingredient meant a lot to me. And then we were able to make bread also to go along with the hummus and just some fresh vegetables for dipping. It did mean a lot. And then what we had left over, we served on the salad bar at our ALA program. But yeah, I love cooking traditional foods for kids any chance I get. And for that, especially because they were out at the wetlands. And it was Miss Myers that had approached me and said, we want to do something more traditional, something more meaningful. So I pitched that idea to her about the hummus and the fresh bread, and she really liked it. So we went with that. So
That's great. So like, tepary beans, high in protein, iron, fiber, they can help slow sugar absorption, help control diabetes and build muscle. Tepary beans and other traditional foods in the community, like cholla buds, which have, they're high in calcium, fiber, regulate blood sugar as well. Mesquite, protein, fiber, magnesium, iron, calcium, you can go on and on. If you could talk about providing those traditional foods and how, the importance of having that there for the kids, because, they're going to be out in the world or they're going to be at home, and there's moments in between where, you're providing their meals, you're providing, what they need to survive. So could you talk about your role in having those nutritional foods and maybe kind of what goes into providing those and the plan that you have for those kids?
I guess it started out as doing a what is it called? Farm to School Challenge. And we had an opportunity to sign up for that. And what you do is you serve and kind of talk about local foods that are from Arizona to your students. And so we signed up for it. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, we have an opportunity to share foods that are important to us, like the O'odham and the Peeposh. And there's so much around us. So right away, I thought of Ramona Farms, and it kind of just went from there. We did a couple of recipes, and it just, from there, I realized, hey, I have an opportunity here to do more with this, like, because I'm the one that, makes the menu, so I can add this to the menu. I can focus more on foods that are important to us as O'odham, Peeposh, and just indigenous communities. And the more I learned about it, the more I realized how important it is to us, not just in a nutrition sense, but also as far as identity and helping us to see ourselves in the foods that we serve every day. And then helping the kids also recognize that these foods are important to us, and then in turn help them realize that they are important. So it's more than just food to me, and to the kids. So I want them to realize that. I really feel that it's important for them to learn more about these foods so that they'll want to eat them as they grow older, because right now they're young, their bodies are strong and healthy, and I feel like the more good things they eat, the stronger they're going to grow and avoid all those illnesses that come with the foods that aren't as good for us.
You kind of set the tone in a way at this pivotal point in their life, and then, kind of set them free, go,
Yeah.
now you're older, now you can make your own decisions, at a certain point, once they get to be in high school, they're choosing to eat certain foods. It kind of makes me think about, when you were that age and you were in high school, what kind of foods were you introduced to? Were you just eating what everybody else was eating in high school? And how do you kind of put two and two together with that?
Yeah, I'm hoping. Well, see, I grew up in Mesa Public School, so I didn't have an opportunity to really, I wasn't exposed to any of this. And I grew up for lunch, I had drinking a can of Sprite and a bag of M&Ms, which was totally not healthy. But my goal is to teach them while they're young. And it's kind of like you're teaching their palate. You're teaching them how to make choices. And I'm hoping they'll grow up, and instead of reaching for that bag of hot Cheetos, they might reach for some squash or a carrot or an apple instead of that, because their taste buds are different and they know more about the foods, and understand that, oh, this is better for me, or, that's my goal, is to teach them young so that they they appreciate it more and want it instead of, I feel like we kind of get addicted to that bad stuff like soda and chips and all. It's good. I love it. But I mean, it's not healthy for me, but yet sometimes you crave that. So I want them to grow up learning to crave something different, something better. So that's my big goal, is to make a change while they're young, and that hopefully that in turn will change the entire community and help us be a healthier tribe. That's a huge goal, but I keep trying.
So you've had some of your recipes that were included in the state-developed recipes through the Health and Nutrition Services Arizona Department of Education. Could you talk a little bit about what went into that and how many different recipes are in there and which recipes are in there? And yeah, that's just really cool. I just think that's interesting. So
that is really cool. Like, as far as a school lunch person, it's a huge deal. But yeah, we did the Swambav bowl, the wheatberry parfait, and we also helped on the blue corn mush recipe. But Salt River Schools created the Swambav bowl and then the wheatberry parfait. That came about from our Farm to School challenge, and they recognized that we used indigenous ingredients. And from then it kind of turned into it became School Creations Project. And so what we did, we worked with two chefs from the Blue Watermelon Project, who actually helped standardize the recipes. And we tested them in school kitchens to make sure that it was something that any school kitchen could do. And then we tested them during at different sites through the state of Arizona, different lunch times and breakfast time. And then if they met all those requirements, it was doable by other school kitchens. The students liked it. It met all the nutrition guidelines and meal patterns. Then it became a standardized recipe. So I'm very proud of that. Yeah, that we have those recipes out there.
And speaking of recipes, you have to come up with recipes for the kids. You have months ahead of time at times where you have, there's more traditional foods that are mixed in with, other kind of more standard American diet things, that are kind of mixed in there. How do you mix the traditional meals in with there, and how do you choose what to provide for the kids? I
would say a lot of it is like what is familiar to me as someone who grew up in Salt River, and also things I think like, oh, the kids might like this, let's try it. So there's a few recipes in there that like I grew up eating, or I cook it for my kids at home. And so I just like, well, let's just put it on and see what happens. So far it's been pretty good. I think there was only one recipe I tried that it's really good, but I think it's not a familiar food for the kids. It was autumn koji wrap. So it was a barbecue, kind of like the McRib, but autumn style. It's a McRib, basically a rib patty wrapped in a chumut, and then we put coleslaw in there. So it's kind of like a barbecue rib taco, which is delicious. But the students, I think they need to kind of get used to it. They're not a big fan of coleslaw, but but yeah, it's just kind of trial and error. And what works well, we'll keep it on our rotating menu. Some items we know need a little bit more work. So yeah.
Do you have a favorite thing to cook for the students? And also, do you have a favorite thing to cook for yourself?
Oh, my favorite thing to cook for the students always is beans. I just love beans. And that goes way back to like how we were talking about before, my grandma cooking beans on the stove. Beans are just so comforting to me. The smell, the taste, and also they're so nutritious. So I love making beans, especially, for my family, for the kids, and always bread, chumut or wamachsa or skof chumut, lazy bread.
Are you ever at home and you have your kids say, can you make me something? That ever comes up, what are your kids asking for? Even grown,
Yeah.
come by, for a meal, just come by to say hi or whatever.
Yeah.
What would you make if you had time? If there was something that you can whip up?
If
I know
had
that beans
time.
take a long time, or some things
Yeah.
take a long time, but like, what's your favorite thing just to kind of like whip up? If you were to ask a family, what would they say?
Ask my family, they would say fried bread tacos, Indian tacos. And I like to cook a big pot of beans, and then I'll freeze some. So I just pull them out of the freezer if they ever want it. And then, yeah. But usually anything with fried bread they love. So that's one that I can, sometimes if I have time, I'll make that for them.
I know we're talking a lot about beans
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that beans do take a long time to cook. Do you have any wise words for community members making tepary beans?
Oh,
and
yeah.
kind of maybe talk about the different ways that you can shorten the time or the different ways that you can get it just right, or, just whatever you can share, because we don't want the family secret, you don't want the exact secret, but what can you share?
I have no secrets. I like to share recipes and stuff, but the best thing for tepary beans is a crock pot. When I'm doing a huge batch, I'll cook it in a roaster. So I put it on the night before and let it cook all night and all day until it's time to serve for dinner. Yeah, that's the best thing though. And I like mine just simple, maybe a little bit of salt, but if you cook them long and slow, that brings out the flavor. You don't have to add any other seasoning.
And how long have you worked for Salt River Schools?
18 years.
18 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you've fed a lot of bellies. Mm-hmm. What is it like to talk to former students and, about the different foods that you've fed, or just to catch up? That's a decent amount of time to be spending in one place, and you get to know a lot of people. You get to know their habits, you get to know their families, and you get to feed a lot of people, like I said. So if you could talk about that a little bit. Yeah,
I have some. He's pretty close to me. He's part of my extended family, but he'll always say, do you still make, what was it? I can't remember the specific thing, but do you still make this? Or remember, are you still cooking? I'm like, I don't get to cook that much, but we still have, things on the menu. And he'll be like, oh, your food was always so good. And those kids don't realize what they have. And yeah, but he still talks about, every time I see him, he'll talk about school lunch or school breakfast. And so that always makes me feel good because he remembers the food.
What can the students, your current students, expect for the rest of the school year? So you have, winter, spring 2026, and then, school's out. So when do the meals extend out to, and have you had time to make all the different difficult choices to fill in the calendar and everything like that?
I'm actually working on the menus today, the January menu. So I try to go with the seasons, like more stews and soups, and during the winter when it's cold, and lighter things during the summer. But we recently put on pozole, green chili pozole. We tried the white tepary beans with ham, I think a couple of weeks ago, and skofchuma. We're always changing.
So could you talk to us a little bit about Chef in the Garden?
Yes. Chef in the Garden is a program developed by Blue Watermelon Project. And so this is our second year doing it in Salt River Schools. Last year we did it at ALA. And so what it is we share a recipe with the students that are created by other chefs. And we actually do the cooking lesson. And then we cook with the kids. And then whatever ingredient it is, like I think the first one we did this year was cabbage. So we made cabbage hash browns with the ALA students. And then after that, we were able to plant cabbage starts in our garden. So every month we'll be doing that. Last, December, we did snow peas, and we made a snow pea stir fry, and we planted snow peas in the garden. I'm really excited about that. So it's been doing so well that once a month we decided to do a Chef in the Garden. Usually we only do 5 a year, but this year at ALA, we're going to do one once a month. And this will give me an opportunity to share some of these local or indigenous foods and some recipes that I think the kids would like that are, I guess, more specific to our community. And then we'll be branching out to Salt River Elementary and our ECEC, the little ones. We'll be able to run the program over there as well. So I'm really excited about that. And hopefully each site will have their own garden. And so we'll be teaching the kids how to grow and harvest and prepare the foods from the garden. So I'm really excited about that.
That's great. Well, I just want to thank you very much for spending time with us here today and talking about what you do and all your passions. You do very important work for the community. So thank you. Thank you very much, Shannon. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Wow, what a great discussion. I'm super definitely hungry now. Great job, Chris. And huge shout outs going to Shannon for taking the time out of her busy schedule to hang out with us for a while. Much appreciated. Alrighty, that's all we have for this episode. Do you have a story idea? You can email us at oan@srpmic-nsn.gov. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Altum Action News. You can find a hard copy of our print issue at local newsstands, which comes out every first and third Thursday of the month. Head to altumnews.org where you can find more stories, more photos, more everything. That's it for today. We'll talk soon. See you around. Goodbye.